Like us back. We're all here. Go ahead. No, I think we're good, Mr. Neese.
Yeah, 1 second. Just making sure the recording started. Okay, they have. So once again, this is a virtual meeting of the township. This is the Board of Supervisors meeting. And so tonight we're taking public comment, as we have been taking public comment for the last year. We've been doing that by taking public comment either in the blue drop box at the front of the township building. You can drop your public comment off in there, and that box is checked before each meeting. In addition, you can make public comment by raising your hand, either in the Zoom call through your computer or through your phone, if you've used the phone in option. If by chance you're having trouble, or you just wish to make public comment without necessarily publicly stating it or being on screen to do so, you can send your public comment to publiccomment@newtowntownship.org. Again, that's public comment, all one word, @newtowntownship.org. If by chance you're having trouble and you're wanting to make your comment to the board directly, and you can't get in, please make sure that you include your screen name that you're in under, and as well as include, if you've called in, the phone number that you've dialed into the meeting, so we know who to recognize. In any case, make sure you include your name and your address for the record. Mr. Chairman, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Neese. I've not been advised that we have any public comment in the box or emails, so we will move ahead. The board was in executive session prior to this meeting to discuss 2 potential legal matters. So with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Neese, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Nawn.
Present.
Mr. Partridge.
Here.
Ms. Roberts Lightcap.
Here.
Mr. Russo. Mr. Altieri.
Here.
Yes. And your solicitor, engineer, and manager are here.
Thank you, Mr. Neese. For a moment of silence tonight, I'd like us to keep in our thoughts and our prayers all those highway workers. This week, today, in fact, we kick off Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. Let's keep in our thoughts and prayers all those who work in the highway. We seem to have a lot of highway work going on in Newtown Square right now. So let's keep those folks in our mind and try to make sure that when we drive through a work zone, we do so safely so that all those workers can return home to their families every night. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We have before us this evening's agenda. I'll entertain a motion for approval or consideration of any changes to the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve this evening's agenda. Any further discussion from members of the board on this item? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is public comment for agenda items only. If there's any members of the general public that are presently listening and you'd like to offer comment, please raise your hand and be acknowledged, and we will hear you. Not seeing any hands raised, we will move on. Next on the agenda, item 8 is consider approving minutes from the April 12th, 2021 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written or consideration of any changes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12th, 2021 Board of Supervisors meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve the minutes from the April 12th, 2021 meeting as written. Any further questions or discussions from members of the board on this item? Seeing or hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have two resolutions for recognition. The first is consider approving the Township Proclamation recognizing Children's Mental Health Awareness Month. Supervisor Roberts Lightcap.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the good mental health is a key component in a child's healthy development, and Children's Mental Health Awareness Week provides the opportunity to focus on this important matter while celebrating the accomplishments of children and families affected by mental health concerns. And whereas according to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, 1 in 5 children are diagnosed with a mental health condition. Whereas research has showed early identification and appropriate treatment of mental health disorders among children and adolescents provide them better opportunities to lead full and productive lives. And children and youth with mental health challenges and their families benefit from access to timely services and supports that are family-driven, youth-guided, and culturally appropriate. They also benefit from the integration of behavioral health in primary care, education, and child welfare. And whereas it is important that children and adolescents, along with their families and communities, learn about warning signs of mental health disorders and where to obtain necessary assistance and treatment. And whereas obtaining a full and accurate diagnosis of a child requires gathering information from diverse sources, including the family, school, and others involved with the child. And therefore, Newtown Township does hereby proclaim May 2nd to May 8th, 2021 as Children's Mental Health Awareness Week.
Thank you, Supervisor Roberts Lightcap. Would anybody like to offer a second on that proclamation?
Make a second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Altieri. I don't think there's any further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next is Resolution 2021-16, National Police Week. Supervisor Partridge.
Yes. Okay. Resolution number 2021-16, National Police Week, May 9th to the 15th, 2021, and Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th, 2021. Whereas since the beginning of law enforcement within this Commonwealth, hundreds of police officers have made the ultimate sacrifice while in the line of duty. And whereas these officers risk their lives every day to protect our communities, and their bravery and selfless services shall not be overlooked by a grateful nation. And whereas across the United States, the week of May 9th through 15th, 2021 will be recognized as National Police Week. And whereas the first National Peace Officers Memorial Day was held on May 15th, 1982, following a proclamation signed by President John F. Kennedy on October 1st, 1961, and has continued to be observed annually in memory of those police officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And whereas that Newtown Township honor the memory of the hundreds of police officers who have given their lives in the line of duty in this Commonwealth, and whereas that Newtown Township recognizes the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors of the Township of Newtown does hereby acknowledge May 9th through the 15th, 2021 as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2021 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in Pennsylvania. Resolved this 26th day of April, 2021, and that's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve Resolution 2021-16, recognizing National Police Week and Police Officer or Peace Officer Memorial Day. Any further questions or discussions on the motion or resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 10, we have some presentations from Chief Lund. I wish we could all be in person to do these and honor these people in person, but we will do it this way and hope for a better day soon. Mr. Niska, if you would allow Chief Lund to speak, we'll turn the program over to him. Mr. Nish, you're on mute.
Yep, I'm sorry. I've actually promoted Chief Lund as well as the two recipients who were online.
Outstanding. Chief, take it away.
Okay, thank you for the time tonight. Our first award was the Clinton Cunningham Officer of the Year Award, and that was given to Officer Chris Signore. He was voted by a majority of his peers in the police department to be the 2021 Officer of the Year. The criteria used to award that award is an officer who promotes a sense of community within the department, an officer who welcomes and values the diversity of opinions and discussions and demonstrates tolerance of others, an officer who provides ongoing high-quality performance, sees work assignments from a big picture point of view, seeks to improve police operations, handles difficult situations and assignments well, and personifies dependability. And also an officer who embodies our mission statement, purpose, vision, and values, advances the priorities of the department through completion of work assignments, recognizes his role in achieving department goals, and is motivated by the pursuit of excellence. In the photo there is Officer Signore with the plaque and the award, which was presented by Kelly Cunningham, and she's pictured there with her youngest son, Sean, and her nephew, Tom.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Officer Signore. That's fantastic. And again, wish we could be presenting this to you in person.
Okay, our next award was a Meritorious Service Award, which was presented to Officer Tyler Vandegrift. Back in December, police were called to the 3500 block of Westchester Pike for a subject throwing objects and trash at passing cars. This was about a little after 7 in the morning. Officer Tyler Vandegrift was the first officer to arrive, and he was confronted by the subject, who was now holding a knife in each hand, and he was threatening to kill the officer. Officer Vandegrift was able to distance himself from the armed subject and ordered him to drop the knives. After a brief standoff, the subject ran across Westchester Pike, with Officer Vandegrift giving chase. The subject finally dropped the knives and was taken into custody without any injuries. It was determined afterwards that the subject was homeless and in a mental health crisis. He was arrested, processed, and then transported to Chester Crozier Hospital Crisis Center for a mental health evaluation and treatment. That's myself and Officer Tyler Vandegrift in the picture there.
That's awesome, Chris. So happy that we had a good resolution, and that's testament to the training and dedication of the officers in our department. We're so happy to have them. So I do thank you for that too. Again, Officer Vandegrift, congratulations. And hopefully when you win an award again, we can all present it in person.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Our final award is the Walt Wolff Award, and Benari Jewelers was selected as the recipient of the 2021 Walt Wolff Award for their ongoing support of the Newtown Township Police Department and their overall support of the Newtown Square community. Pictured in the photo there with me is Rachel Benari, who received the award, and then Walt Wolff there.
That's fantastic. You had to get Rachel to move over just a little bit, and then the Rolex crown would be right on top of her. But that's great. They are a great community partner, and we're grateful for their presence and their participation as part of our community, and particularly grateful for Walt Wolff for his dedication in making this award every year. So again, Chris, congratulations. As we've said before, your department is certainly instrumental to the quality of life here in town, and we are so appreciative of everything that you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the time tonight.
All right. Chris, if he's still there, our next on the agenda are our reports. The first report is from the police department. I don't know if Chief Lund has any additional items to add to his report.
There's nothing additional to add.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a report from our fire department, and I do believe Chief Everloff would like to address the board and add to his report. So if Chief Everloff's on the line, perhaps Mr. Neese can either promote him or allow him to speak accordingly. Oh, there he is. His hand's up. There he goes.
He should be able to, there we go.
There he is.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing great.
Excellent. So I just wanted to talk, first off, I wanted to thank everybody. Our new ladder truck has arrived at the station, and we're going through the registration process right now. And we hope to be sending it out to have the equipment mounted on it in the next week or so. It will take a couple of weeks, and then the drivers will go through some training on the apparatus before we put it into service. We're looking to put it in service probably early June at this point. But I'd like to thank the supervisors again, our township manager, Steve Neese, and Rich Lafayette for all their assistance with really making this purchase possible. So thank you very much, everybody.
It's our pleasure. Our pleasure. Again, you guys are a big part of our success here in the community too. We're very appreciative of everything you guys do.
Thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk about, so there's been a lot of questions that we've received regarding a resolution on the ballot in May, and it's regarding funding. In essence, it's regarding funding paid or career fire service departments with loan assistance. So currently, there's what's called a VLAP loan. It's a volunteer loan assistance program. Our fire company has benefited from the VLAP loan. With the new station, we received a low interest loan. I believe it's 2% in the amount of $400,000 for the new building. So the state has in a pot $25 million, and that loan that money is available to volunteer fire companies in the state of Pennsylvania. So as everybody knows, there's been a big decline in the number of volunteer services or volunteer fire companies in the state of Pennsylvania. Back in the 1970s, there were over 300,000 volunteers. Today, there's just shy of 38,000 volunteers. So obviously, there are departments within the state of Pennsylvania. I believe there's 22 career departments, and there's roughly 72 combination departments in the state of Pennsylvania. And these, for instance, you have the city of Philadelphia, the city of Allentown, city of Harrisburg, city of Pittsburgh. They're all paid departments. So what this resolution is allowing is that it's allowing these career departments to draw from this loan assistance program. So in the ballot, there's no, and we've done some research with our friends at the Fire Commissioner's Office, there's no indication that they're going to increase the funding for this loan assistance program. So now we have paid departments or career departments that are going to be drawing from the same pot that the volunteer departments are going to be drawing from. And at this point, we can't endorse this referendum due to the fact that there's just not enough available funding that's out there. There's some departments that are around us that have both the career department and there's volunteer departments. And it really doesn't specify whether they can double dip, if that makes any sense, pulling from the career side and from the volunteer side, thus drawing the pot down to the point where there's no available funding for the volunteers that are out there still alive in the state. So at this point, we're asking our residents when they go to the polls to vote no for this referendum. We really need some more information when we're digging around. There aren't too many of our politicians that really knew much about the referendum that was out there that could really support or deny, I guess, the referendum moving forward. So we would ask at this point that if our residents go to the polls, we vote no for this referendum until such a time that the state can promise additional funding that will support both the volunteer and the career side. And where this all came from was SR 6, which is Senate Resolution 6. There were 16 legislative initiatives that came out of this SR 6. So SR 6, a little background on it. When the state realized that there's a huge decline in the number of volunteer organizations across the state, they formed this committee to take a look at different initiatives that could take place to enhance firefighting and volunteerism, in particular for fire and EMS across the state of Pennsylvania. And this was one of those 16 initiatives that apparently came from this SR 6 committee, which was established in 2017. So we really would like to see more funding put into the pot before we can really put our stamp of endorsement on this referendum. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be certainly happy to try and answer them.
I appreciate the clarification, Chief Everloff. I know we were getting a lot of questions from constituents, and we honestly didn't know and didn't know how to respond. So I appreciate the clarification, at least to some extent, that certainly this appears to have, it's going to dilute the pot of money. Any other supervisors offering comment or questions for Chief Everloff?
No, I just appreciate it. I know that Doug and I were going back and forth with multiple phone calls and emails related to this. So I appreciate him giving the overview for the public to hear it. And I will do what I can to make sure that residents understand the impact of this referendum, as well as to ask them to vote no as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest point is that there's no additional funding that's going into this. So with the number of volunteer organizations that are still out there, I think they would struggle to really fund the other volunteer organizations once the career departments start drawing down on the pot.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief Everloff. We appreciate the information.
You're welcome.
All right, moving along. Next on the agenda is the report from our Public Works Director, George Sharretts. I don't see George online, so I'm assuming he has nothing more to offer. Does anyone have any questions on George's report? Seeing and hearing nothing, we'll go next. We have two reports from our building code official, Andy Reschek. I know Mr. Reschek is online right now. I don't know if anyone has any questions for Andy or his reports, or any of anything he wants to add to his report.
I actually, I'm sorry, Andy, if you have something else to add, but I have a question, Andy. AmeriHealth and their full certificate of occupancy, what's holding up that? I see that it says land development. Is that their landscaping plans that they showed us these big trees and that we weren't going to see the building at all, and we're not getting that kind of landscaping, or it's not there? Is that the only thing that's holding them up?
No, there's a few, well, the land development plan is always under the supervision of the township engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So Eileen will review that site, or her crew will review that site for stormwater, for the landscaping that was approved as part of the landscaping package.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And all of the general land development related items. But there are still a few things that I'm working with Norwood on and AmeriHealth as far as the inside of the building.
Okay.
They've got to make some minor adjustments to some accessibility related items, as well as applying some additional finishes. None of them are life safety related, but they do have to be complete for me to issue the final CO. Right.
You would think a company by the name of AmeriHealth would have their accessibility ducks in a row.
Yeah.
And then I guess then it's the land development. But thank you for the explanation about Eileen is the one, because, we seem to we put in land development plans that, we get agreed to by these developers for landscaping.
Mhm.
And what they take out never seems to be replaced in kind. And I get things have to go, but thank you, Andy, for that.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Any other questions for
Mr.
Andy, or Andy, do you have anything to add to your report?
I have nothing to add, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
I'm not seeing or hearing any, so thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I would just mention that George is online. He's just under Newtown Township.
well, that's fine. Does anyone have any questions for George on his report? Does George have anything to add to his report, Mr. Neese?
George, if you have something to add, would you please raise your hand? I don't see anything. I think he just wanted to make sure if you had questions, you knew he was here.
That's fine. I assumed he was one of those Newtown Township ones.
I think Rich is the other one.
No doubt. And that brings us to Mr. LaFiata's report. Any questions for our finance director, or does our finance director have anything to add to his report? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on. Next, we have a report from our library director, Arlene Caruso. I trust everybody's had a chance to review that. I do see Arlene's name here. Does anyone have any questions for Arlene? Or if Arlene has anything to add, that's fine. Seeing and hearing nothing. Next, we have a report from our township engineer, Eileen Nelson. Eileen, do you have anything to add to your report? But I'm sure some supervisors may have questions for you.
Report, but to Tina's question,
There we go.
the conversion of the wet pond out front is what they have to complete prior to also completing the landscaping. And one of the big ties to the final CO for the AmeriHealth is phase 3 of the offsite highway improvements, which, as everybody that's been on Route 3 knows, is still underway, but expected to be completed. The milling and paving operations are supposed to be completed this week. So once all those things are done, we'll do a final check of the landscaping. And I know, I think what I last heard you say was they never put back in what gets taken out. The holding their feet to the fire is compliance with the ordinance, which is maintaining a certain height of plantings, number, type, variety, and everything. And I think it would be almost impossible to replace everything that was removed, but that's what we are still monitoring.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. It's just, with all the clear cut that was done at Westchester Pike on the next phase of Ellis, you realize how large that parcel is and how planted that was. And, it's part of progress, I guess, but,
I know
AmeriHealth is directly across from a neighborhood. And so it's really not fair to that neighborhood, to not have that buffer that they had promised us.
And I think that's the key, right? They told the supervisors time and time again that we were never going to, that the board at the time was never going to see AmeriHealth. And that obviously is the furthest thing from the truth. And I get things need to be checked off before they get in there. I just hope that they, reiterating what Supervisor Roberts have just said, I do hope that they get in there and actually do what they say they're going to do. And, I also
maintain it. Because sometimes they'll put trees in and then, because it meets the box, right? And then the things die and then they don't replace them. So thank you.
Any other questions for our engineer? Eileen, anything else to add from your report?
nothing other than continued progress. Anybody that still I indicated in the report has to get back to me, still has to get back to me. I'm waiting for Earl's Lake and still trying to set up a meeting. It's bounced around a little bit for the Clearbrook culvert project being finalized.
Eileen,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Eileen, do you need anything from us in terms of the drainage studies? I know that they are completed. I just don't know if you're waiting for us to make a move on something or have a discussion on them. Or is there something that you need to, is there a missing piece or what's the next steps in that?
Yeah, I had provided the board the draft just to garnish any questions that you all had prior to putting the finishing touches. There's some exhibits are going to be polished a little better than were provided to you and things like that. But the major content, if there was any questions, I had preferred to get them answered through a give and take instead of, all at once on the floor.
So is there still time for us to provide those comments individually?
Absolutely.
And when do you want that deadline by?
The deadline is up to you. Whenever you all can get me your comments or provide that you don't have any, I'll be able to complete the studies.
All right.
Why don't we set a deadline of the next meeting? If everybody before our next supervisors meeting, which is May 10th, could provide Eileen with any comments you have on the drainage studies, please do so. After that point, then we will direct Eileen to complete everything and then we can take it from there.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Eileen, could you send that out again to us then too? That way it's fresh up on our emails and we can.
Actually, I believe it was distributed through either a Dropbox or because it was too large to email. And Suzanne has those.
Okay.
can ask her to send out.
We'll get you a fresh link.
Great, thank you. Because it brings it back up to the top of the.
Sure.
So I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Eileen, also you were working on the study for Sawmill.
Yes, had some discussions with Steve about incorporating the Aspen Road parcel into, because that was not part of the original plan, and coordinating the potential for a future bike lane down Sawmill Road. We started tossing around things, and there's a belief that there may be some deed restricted language on the Aspen Road parcel that I believe George and Stephen were trying to find that documentation.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, Eileen. And I do hope to get the phase 3 paving and milling done soon because I'd really like to get some sleep. So
I'm sure you would above everybody. Yeah.
Well, and the only other thing I want to back up what Tina said is if they're going to be planting a lot of landscaping, they need to do that in a few weeks before the rain stops. I mean, you can't plant trees at the end of May, beginning of June, they'll never live. And I highly doubt they're putting a sprinkler system in.
any other questions for Eileen? All righty. Moving on to Mr. Neese, our township manager. He's got a number of things here, so we'll allow Mr. Neese to take it away.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to be as quick as I can. I do have a few items that are not on the agenda, so or on the what you see. So first of all, real quick update. Our street sweeper is at municipal or U.S. Municipal. We've been told that it should be back to us within 2 weeks, which means we should be doing street sweeping hopefully by the next board meeting. So that is the goal. So it's ready. It's almost ready to go. We've ordered. We ordered the 750. It is on the assembly line being constructed at this time. Once it gets completed constructed, we think at the beginning of June, it'll be going, or in June, not in the beginning of June, but in June, it'll be going to Intercon for the dump body and the back to be added. So we should have it in plenty of time to do leaf collection as well as do snow removal this coming year. So that's moving forward. Speed tables / speed humps. We were told that they were going to be to us in the middle of April, and the middle of April has since passed. They are not before us. We found out from, I believe, Tapco, who is the one who's producing them, that our design was not something they had in stock. which our design was just PennDOT's design. We didn't try to do anything different. It's an MUTCD proper specs. And they originally told us that they couldn't do that. Now they're telling us they can. And I just got a message that maybe they can, but it wouldn't be with the same whereas the design that they've given, that they have. And the difference basically is instead of having a single arrow as PennDOT shows going across in each direction, theirs has 3 arrows going across. I reached out to actually Eileen reached out to PennDOT initially on our behalf, and I reached out, followed up with them, trying to get an explanation of, would PennDOT still consider that as that design is okay, because that's what we were getting back from the manufacturer. PennDOT's not willing to commit to that. So what our concern has to do with is, and I'm not sure it's a major issue with these because they're temporary, but we want to make sure that it doesn't cause a problem with our liquid fuels funding if we put them in the street. And so we're trying to get this right. We're trying to push for them to get this done as quickly as possible. We know we want to have these in, but at the same time, I don't want to spend $20,000 and find out that we can't use them. So we're really trying to get answers, and that's what we're working on. So we're working on that. And
Mr.
hopefully,
East, for a second, are there any other sources for these things?
we are looking into that, but we had a hard time finding this source at this price. We do know that we could buy them, but I think we would be paying about $20,000 per piece versus getting 4 for $20,000. And so if I remember the numbers right. So we are looking, we're trying to figure it out. I do believe that they think they can do something. It's just that the reflectiveness of what they put on won't last as long in doing it our way.
Just get them in. Let's get them in and get them down, and that we need these things.
Yep. So that's what we're working on.
Okay.
I think most of you were aware, because at least 3 of you were there at Arbor Day on Saturday. We had a great turnout and representation from we had people from the EAC, Parks and Rec, Shade Tree, Newtown Square and Bloom, Public Works was there, and also the supervisors were there and represented. So it was a good day. We planted, I think it was 6 trees, bare root trees, and so helping to increase what we've had to take out on Goshen Road. It'll take some years to get them back to what size they should be, but it's at least a start in moving back for all those ash trees that we had to take out. So that's a great thing. And it's part of moving us forward on our goal of reaching 1,000 trees planted in the next couple of years. So we're taking our first step.
994 to go.
Yes.
Doing our part, what we ask of other people in the township to also do, even on their own private property, when they take trees down to I don't think people realize that when you take a tree down and you think of your ground or your lawn, your land, it affects other people as well. So I think it's a good message, and it was fun.
It was fun. It was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that has been coming up is we've been being requested of whether or not we would start renting Drexel Lodge again, being that it's an outdoor venue. I'm leaning towards saying yes, if people will provide us just a COVID plan of what they plan on doing, based on how many they're having. But if that's okay with the board, we'd like to start accepting rentals of Drexel Lodge.
I think we need to get the people out.
Yep. Here's what I'll tell you. People are using it, the pavilion anyhow. At least this way we can make sure they're using it in such a way that's hopefully safe.
Mm-hmm.
Does any board member have any problem with that?
No.
Good.
No.
Good. I will say that the Railroad Museum at Drexel Lodge Park will be open for Newtown Square Day. We're not going to open up the buildings per se, but we will have the grounds open and have people there so that we can have an outdoor event there too. So.
Yep.
And John, when is that date?
June 5th, Saturday, June 5th.
Here it is.
So I think you're all aware that Gather in the Circle has been working on having a farmer's market
Mhm.
over near that area at near the St. Albans Circle. One of the things that they're trying to do is have different groups in town at different times have a table on different Fridays. One thought was, should the township be there on Fridays, being maybe represented by a supervisor and by somebody from the staff? I'm just throwing it out. I think it's probably a good opportunity for us to get the word out on some of the projects that we're doing and to kind of hear from the community about different things that are going on. If the board is agreement, I will make sure that we get a table.
I think
Yes.
we're in agreement. If you can get a staff member there, we'll make sure we get a board member there.
All righty.
But you know that rotates though, right? You know, it's not the table every week. It's one group rotates in that community
Mhm.
table every weekend.
Oh, okay. I thought that they were asking the township to have one every week.
No, so the way it works is all the different groups that are part of like that steering committee for Gather in the Circle and then the farmers market subcommittee, like Tina's on the big committee, and then there's the subcommittee for the farmers market thing. Those groups, it rotates once a week or every Friday. It's a different group that's represented at that community table. So we just need to pick a date, and we will have a staff member and or the rest of the board there.
All right. We will do that. We'll make sure that we're a part of that.
So Leonard, for that, like Newtown and Bloom would be there one time. Is that the thought?
Yeah, so it would be,
Community
yeah.
table?
So Garrett Williamson would be there one time, St. Albans
Okay.
Church would be there one time, so on and so forth.
Okay.
All right. So we received notice this last week that the Delaware County Conservation District has awarded us $9,516.20 towards our tree vitalization watershed grant funded by Aqua. And that is we asked to be able to plant trees over at Gable Park across the street from the township building. That lot that's kind of an empty lot there. We have lost quite a few of the trees that were ash trees there. And my understanding is that I think somebody told me we're getting as many as 200 trees. That's going to be a lot of trees in that little area. But so, and it's a wetland area, but it's an opportunity for us to help get some shade back in that area and plant some of those trees that we're trying to get planted. So that's a great opportunity. I wanted to let you know that we got that money in. And we're not in yet, but we will get it in. I do believe there's some documents to be signed, and we'll get all that done and moving forward. The next thing is we also heard that I got the multimodal trail loop grant award. If you'll recall, we had asked Gilmore and Associates to do 2 grant proposals for us, and one of them was through PennDOT for the multimodal grant. And we were awarded $650,000. Later
Great.
down on the agenda, we will be asking for additional signature for that. They're requiring 2 signatures, not just mine. And so at this point, we're recommending the chair. You all might decide something different, but we thought the chair made sense and not another staff member. We thought it was better coming from you. We also got a request about the ballot box. If you'll recall, in the spring, or in the spring, in December, we had put together an agreement with the county, and the county never came and removed their ballot box. So I informed them that the township had done so. And so I'm working with them on that. I just wanted to let you know that we had that. The next thing on my list is there's been some confusion about the Westchester Pike lanes. For those that are used, all of a sudden finding these 3 lanes, particularly when you get to the corner where the Acme Shopping Center light is, coming out of the Acme Shopping Center there, if you, there's the 3 lanes that are going eastbound go down to 2, and people are getting confused. So if they need to watch the signs that are up on the mast arm that's earlier in that segment of road. But I've also been informed, I did check today, And they are going to be signing that on the ground as well. There'll be some directional painting on the ground as well, that lane all of a sudden just becomes a turn lane. So hopefully people will start to get to know that and start moving over. Right now, some people are getting all the way up to the light before they realize that they're going right into the median. So hopefully that'll get changed, and once it's all finished and gets painted, and that's supposed to be done this week, it'll help clear a lot of that up. So, but it is allowing for more traffic to move through that intersection and take more traffic in both directions.
So-
In addition to that, we need to set a budget date. If you recall last meeting, I was mentioning to you that we were putting together a budget schedule, and one of the things we wanted to do was have a staff and board meeting together to talk about not only the strategic plan objective outcomes, but also to talk about anything that the board was looking for so that we could take the proper steps. And I believe one of the things that we had talked about is it could be either a Wednesday or a Monday night would probably be best for the board in regards to your all schedules. And I think we're aiming for the third Monday. Is that okay, or do we want to do the Wednesday?
I think we're okay with the third Monday. Is anybody not okay with the third Monday?
I'm fine.
Okay.
That's fair
So
for me.
we will do third Monday. The two more things real quick. We received, we have a letter, or we have an opportunity to, or we're being asked to support a grant that the Delaware County 911 Communications Group is going after to redo all the police radios, their whole radio system throughout the county, so that they can all communicate better together. It's changing the frequency that they're currently using. And it's a very large project. I believe it's a $40 million project, and they're asking for some money from the state, but they're asking for all the municipalities to support them in that. Unless the board has an objection, I will write a support letter, and we'll have the chair sign it, or I can sign it, whichever the board prefers.
Are we okay? Everybody all right with that?
Okay. Well, we'll move it forward. If it's all right, I'll just sign it so we can get it done and get it moving, and we'll go from there.
Mr.
Finally, the last meeting you all asked about RFPs. And so I thought I would quickly go through our list of possible RFPs and let you give me direction as to which ones you'd like me to take action on sooner than later, or if we want to do them all for 2021, we'll go through it. As you mentioned at the last meeting, obviously you have the solicitor and engineer, and at this point, I think you were giving me direction that we were not going to do those, if I remember how the meeting went at the last meeting, but I wanted to put those both out for you. EOC, Emergency Operations Center, we've always done that with a volunteer. I'm assuming that you would want to continue to do that with a volunteer. I don't see a need to go out and do that, but it is something that could be done the other way. So if you're comfortable, we'll continue to do that with volunteers unless you tell me otherwise. Typically in the finance and administration area, copiers, postage meters, and the scanner plan printer, as well as the accounting software, they're all done at the time in which we purchase them. They do have annual contracts that we continue with them afterwards for service, or the software has an annual contract, but that's something that we did, for example, the software is something that we spent about, I think it was like $86,000, almost $100,000 on. So I don't think we want to change that at this time, but if you tell us that you do, we can look at that. But those things are typically done at the time of purchase. And then whoever we purchase them from, we just maintain the maintenance contract with them through the time in which we bought it. IT consultant, if you recall, we had been with a different consultant and we had a challenge a few years back, and we went with Help Now. who we have now. We've been with them about 3 years. We felt like they provided us good service. If you tell us that you would want us to go back out, we could go back out and do that one. Our insurance.
Can you move the
brokerage-
list to the left a little bit? The left side of the list is cut off.
Might be your screen, Mike.
Okay, never mind.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry. The insurance broker, I don't know that we've ever gone out to bid on since I've been here. And I think you've had them for a pretty long time, Gallagher Insurance. Our pension is with CBiz, or it used to be INR, if you knew if you remember them from that. And again, both of those, I think we've had a long-term relationship with. So those are possible. The auditor is, I believe, ending their 3rd year with us right now, and we have 2 one-year extensions that we could do. If you recall that we started changing out the auditor several years back. We had been with the same auditor for quite a few years. For sure, every 5 years we should do it. We could do it as short as 3, but we should do it at least every 5. And so we could at least go another year unless you're wanting to do that now. And then we talk about the codes positions, and I have those listed. There was some question in regards to both our fire marshal and our assistant fire marshal are employees of the township. Carl's actually listed as the fire marshal, and he's a part-time employee. Joe Alonso's a police officer who covers anytime Carl can't, for the purpose of going in and looking at a fire that way. So those are employees. The sewage enforcement officer is Jim Bevins, but he's with the Macombi, and that's who we've been doing in the past. And then down below, our animal warden, our animal shelter, and our police software. Again, the police software is at the time of purchase. I'm not sure when we did the animal warden. It's been Alan Strickler ever since I've been here. And then we did Brandywine Veterinary Hospital because at one point, whoever we were using before, I forget, went kind of out. They stopped doing it, and we did that. I think it was back in 2017. Finally, under Public Works, our phone system. When we purchased the phone system, we purchased it from Pathcom. So again, it's the same as at the time of purchase, unless we were going to buy a new one. Net Carrier and Verizon are providers with them. I guess we could change those out if we wanted to, but we did them as part of the time of purchase, and they had their agreement with Pathcom. Our salt bid we do every year now. Recycling we did in 2019. It was a 1-year contract, and we did 2 one-year extensions. So obviously that is one that we're going to do this year. The mowing contract and traffic signal we just did about, I think it was either last meeting or in the meeting before. You approved both of those. Our HVAC is a group that we've done, Goshen Mechanical. I think they've been with us quite a while. They've fallen under the RFP dollar value. Typically, they're not spending what we would have to do. They're not spending more than $20,000. So typically their maintenance has fallen under, but we could do an RFP for them. Our door system and our fire alarm system are both done at the time of purchase. So I believe those are the typical RFPs that we've done since I've been here, or ones that we could do. Anything else that we do, typically we do it as a one-off, and we do an RFP just based on it. So if we're doing a construction project like the road program, and or like we did at Clearbrook, those are always our RFPs that we do, or requests for bids specifically for that project.
So Stephen, you said you said that there's a number that you have to bid. So would our insurance and our pension fall above that number?
Well, both of those are kind of considered professional services. And at professional services, you can choose to bid it. You don't have to bid it. And you can choose whatever your choice is, how you want to do that. You can select those, just kind of like your solicitor and your engineer.
So the insurance, though, is pretty pricey, I would imagine. It's a pretty number.
I think we get pretty close to 6 figures.
And how about the pension?
The pension.
They manage the pension? What do they do? What does CB?
Well, actually, I listed them, and actually we have 2 different ones. But INR, when we use them, I just drew a blank on the other group's name right now. They kind of come along with them. So one group is focused on taking care and managing the pension investments for us. And INR, that group, who's now CBIZ, they do that using basically Vanguard funds to manage our pension. And their focus is on rebalancing on a regular basis. And by rebalancing on a regular basis, they've been able to actually drive really good returns for us. And also help to limit our exposure as much as possible in the bad times. And they're always buying low and selling high and rebalancing on a regular basis. And they have the authority to do that. And that's how we have that set up. And then the other, and I'm sorry, I forget the group's name. The other group is more of helping us with the administration and paperwork for each individual, as well as making sure that we do the right actuarial studies. And I think between the 2 of them, the INR piece is a percentage. I'd have to look to get the exact percentage of what our investments are. And then the other is, I want to say it's about 5,000 to 10,000 a year. But
they're doing a good job.
They are doing a good job. But
and it's not money based. It's not a fee based. Well, they're percentages, but
there is percentages for INR's part,
right?
But for the other, it's more of a fee for the actuarial studies and things like that.
Now back to the insurance. Typically, I mean, I know that in our company we go out to bid at least every 3 years for insurance brokers, and we find that it keeps people. At least not people, but it keeps the brokers. We've maintained a broker, but it also has them look at different things to look at numbers. I mean, I'm one of 5. I'm just asking questions. So, whatever anybody else thinks. So just the insurance, I just know it's a lot of money.
Are we looking at making decisions on all this stuff tonight or what?
Well, I think really you don't need to. I think if you have directions that you want me to do an RFP and get started on it right away, or if you say, yeah, we want to do RFPs on everything that's not set, it just would help me to know that I have to start writing a lot. I may not release them until closer to we want to do budget, just so we would have fresh numbers at the time of budget. But you asked for this information, and that's why
I agree, but I think if you give this information to us, we can look at it, we can think about it.
Okay.
And we all have an opinion on this stuff, and then we bring them all back and then go through them and make decisions, because we can sit for a while, discussing any one of these, but it's the first time I've seen this, so I'd like time to really look at it and think about it. For instance, the insurance broker, I mean, off the cuff, I agree with I think where Tina was going, and I think it makes sense to put that out to RFP, or at least if not every year, but again, like to think about it some more. And,
right. And maybe if you can send us this list, Stephen, and then we can.
I will send it after this meeting.
Steve, let me ask this question in a theoretical, and I appreciate you putting this all together, because I know that I brought this up at the last meeting. In a theoretical world, just so we know when to give you a deadline, because the last time we discussed this, as you know, we kind of lost track of it on a board perspective here. But if we were to go out to bid on all of this, how much time would you need for us to make that decision to ensure that you have enough time to draft those RFPs?
Typically, if I can get one RFP done in a 2-week period, like going and doing all the research that I need to do to get it in place, and that's not the only thing I'm doing. So it sounds like it takes me 2 weeks to draw up an RFP, and I don't mean that. But if you're really wanting to do them all, I would like to know sooner than later, because it takes a fair amount of time to do that. And then I need to get Joe to review each one to make sure that we're legally not doing something that we're not supposed to do in our RFP. And so, the biggest thing is to make sure it's specifically what we want, for particularly ones where the question marks are. That means we probably haven't done that in several years, at least in my time here. So we don't even have a basis. We have to go back and create it. And so I cheat and I go find as many different municipalities that have already done them, and I try to get RFPs that way, but it just takes a little bit of time to get it to what we need.
No, I appreciate it. I asked for 11. I mentioned 11 positions last time. You went obviously above and beyond with this, so it gives us, as Ed said, some good material to look at. I guess, John, what do you think?
What if we try to get back to Steve? I mean, if Steve will send us all the list, we'll take a look, and then, we can get back to Steve within, say, the next month or so, by the second meeting in May. And then he can have some direction. We can decide where we want to go at that point.
And I think for me, a bigger thing I'd like to know is a rough dollar amount on these things. Cause I mean, if the copier service is $6,000 a year, I could care less. I mean, if that's the copier we use, that's an important piece of equipment. It seems like we're more concerned about service. Same thing with like the HVAC guy. We have a specialized system of ground, the ground, geothermal. I don't know that you can call any HVAC guy and they'll understand that system. So I think there's certain things on here that we might want to understand what the dollar amount is and if it's some kind of specialized thing. Okay. Granted, the insurance definitely go. You can bid it to anybody, right? The other things, some of these things, like I know when we were looking for the dog place, to take the stray animals that they found, we only had one person, participate. Yeah, we can send out another RFP, but we don't want to piss off the person that's doing it now, in my opinion, because it's such a small spend. Like some of these things, the spend so small, if we're getting good service, it might be just like Leonard was saying, 11 things. Maybe it is just 11 or 12 things we really need to look at, Steve.
Yeah, I'm happy to look at whatever you want me to. I just wanted you to have an idea of what was out there.
Before you send this out, Steve, you could add another column then, or 2 columns.
I will go back and I will try to get the contract price for each one of these, understanding I'm going to give you whatever 2021's contract price is, knowing that it might have an escalation going up, but we'll get you that number so you just have an idea of where we're talking about.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right. I believe that is everything that I had on my list.
Oh, is that all?
It was a short list this time.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Neese?
I do. I have 2 of them. In regard to the Westchester Pike lane issue that you were discussing, just a clarification on my part. So, and maybe John might know this answer, but when they are done with the blacktopping and they go with the line painting, will they delineate that a little bit more clearly as opposed to just the sign up on the mast arm? They are, John? Okay.
Yeah, that's not the final lines. They're just, they put them down after they pave just to make sure everyone knows where to drive, sort of. They'll restripe the entire roadway once all the paving's done.
Because I myself got stuck in that left-hand turning lane too. So I understand what the frustration is that a lot of people are talking about. And then the other thing too is, because I thought that this got fixed and then it seems like it's not working anymore, but are those traffic lights still timed correctly or did they get out of whack again?
They're all out of whack.
Okay, and when are we expecting PennDOT to do their job and actually fix that? Or are we just gonna live through that horrendous endeavor forever?
So my understanding is that there's some finalization right now with fiber connections as part of this project they're working on. And once that gets done, they can go back and redo the timing. Then that's what
contractors required to put out whatever timing was on the plans as the design plans. Contractors required to make sure that works. Once that's all said and done, we can go back after the contractor's gone and we can adjust the timing too, since we're responsible to maintain the signals.
So what's the time frame on that?
My understanding is the contractor is thinking they're going to be finished in the next couple of weeks. I think May 10th is when we're having the walk through, I'm pretty sure. If it's not fixed by then, we will be addressing it at that time to make sure that they've got it back to what it's supposed to be. And usually PennDOT is there at that time. So if Paul is there, he'll be very aware, Paul Lutz, he'll be very aware of the need for that change, and we'll get that.
If you let me know the time, I'll make sure I'm there for the walkthrough.
I will make sure you know the time.
1 PM, Mr. Chairman.
1 PM.
1 PM, May 10th.
I have my hard hat and vest ready to go.
And they've asked for any punch list items we can supply ahead of time. So if anybody sees anything, they can send them to me. I can get them to them
They
ahead
need
of
to clean
time.
the damn inlets out.
Well, that's a big one.
I mean, I was looking at the inlets today, even at the end of my corner, and, you know, they're half filled with dirt and straw and pieces of asphalt, and, you know, these things aren't gonna work if they don't get them cleaned out, so.
First on my list.
Any other questions for Mr. Neese? All righty, moving ahead now. Item 12, fund transfer. This is a request to transfer of $9,922.63 from the street light fund to the capital fund. The money represents money that was budgeted in 2021 budget to be transferred to the capital fund to repay the interfund loan agreement approved September 11, 2017 for the street light LED project. Would anybody like to offer a motion on that item?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve item 12.1. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 13, we have one budget adjustment. This is consider approving budget increase 2021-03, which increases the capital fund budget as follows. It increases the revenue account for use of fund balance by $48,990. It increases the expense account for the fire truck by $23,990. And it increases the expense account for fire truck equipment mounting by $25,000. And I think if you look at that, it all balances itself out. So the increase will come from use of fund balance. The expense was approved by the Board of Supervisors in 2020 to be expensed in 2021 when the change order and the mounting expense of invoices for the truck arrived, which they have done. So would anybody like to offer a motion on item 13.1?
So move for approval.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge to approve item 13.1. Any discussions or questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have one item under payments. Consider approving $61.93 payment to Doug Saberski of 401 Timber Lane for a hydrant tax refund. Somebody like to offer a motion?
How do you get a hydrant tax refund? I thought everybody paid that.
Only if you're within the proper distance, and we found out that he was not. Well,
So
it's his mother's house. It's not.
I know.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Isn't she 410, 411 Timberlane? That's not the correct address.
I think you're right.
I think it is 410 Timber Lane.
Yeah.
We should know that address by heart, I think.
I know, like my parents.
Okay, we have a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Altieri to approve item 14.1. Any further questions or discussions on the motion?
Yeah. Is it his mother's house, or does he happen to live on the same street at 401? Steve?
No, I believe he lives on Woolman,
Are you
Okay.
in his mother's house?
but I think it's Reggie's. That's where it's supposed to be.
410 Timber Lane is her house. I'm assuming he owns the house then, as he's the property owner?
Well, I think that he's taking care of things.
And this is.
Who paid the
Okay.
tax though? I mean, he's getting the refund. Did he pay the tax or?
My understanding is that he did pay the taxes at least this year.
Okay.
I don't know if I could find a check that quickly. Would it be better? Would we all feel more comfortable? We just table this to the next meeting so we can get more clarification?
I mean, from my point of view, it depends on how sure Steve is. I mean, it's only $61, but
Right.
Steve, if you're sure it's Reggie's house and that it's due to him, then, you know, I'm okay moving forward with it, but
Why don't
that's my
you,
thought.
if you want to pass it, you can pass it that we'll give this to the payer
Person
on
that paid the
record,
tax.
and then I can just verify that.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
so,
fine.
so assuming those details are correct, I'll make a motion to,
Yeah, we already have a motion, I believe.
yeah, well, just, yeah, but I guess I'm kind of revising it, John, that our assumptions are correct, that it is 410 timber and that the money is due to
All
Douglas.
right, I'm looking at a memorandum from Rich Lafayette to Steve Neese on March 15th, saying that this is this regarding 410 Timber Lane and the hydrant charges for 410 Timber Lane, which is Reggie's house. The amount, the money is going back to Doug Saberski at 1 Woolman Drive, Newtown Square, with the understanding, I believe, from what I'm reading here, that he undertakes the management of his mother's property. So.
Good.
That's what I'm looking at. So yes, I think it is for Reggie's house and I think we're okay.
Good.
Who had the second?
Leonard did.
Leonard.
All right. So the motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Altieri to approve item 14.1. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 15, under bills, we have one item, 15.1. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bills in check register A dated April 26, 2021 in the amount of $142,416.27. I had the chance to review the bills before this meeting, and that is my motion.
Second.
Motion was seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 16, we have one item, a developer release. This is approving a request, release request number 2 from Hill Buick in the amount of $45,975 as recommended by the township engineer, and the remaining balance will be $123,959.98. Is there a motion? Is
Make that motion.
there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve item 16.1. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, that brings us to new business, and we have 12 items under new business. So, starting with item 1, 17.1, this is consider authorizing returning the rifle donated to the police by Walt Wolff. The rifle was donated to the police department to use with the SWAT team during a training. It was determined to not be a good rifle for that type of use. Since it is township property, I think we have to approve this. So
moved. So moved for
Second.
approval.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Russo to approve item 17.1. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 17.2, consider approving the annual contract renewal for the township's bright sign renewal with AVT at a cost of $495. I'm not sure I understand what this is, even though the amount's small. Mr. Neese?
Yes, so this is the, I think I have that. If you remember the display system in the township building that we had for the public to see,
Okay,
things as they come in, there's one in the police department, there's
Right,
one in the
right.
library, one in the lobby, and one in the lobby upstairs here, as well as in the main meeting room.
no, that's easy enough. Okay.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve item 17.2. Any further questions or discussions from members of the board on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.3, consider approving the annual maintenance agreement for the phone system with Pathcom at a cost of $4,350. Note this is the same rate as 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lyckout to approve item 17.3. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.4, consider approving a full-page ad in the July 4th Marple Newtown Parade Program at a cost of $215.
So move.
Second.
Second. Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Altieri to approve item 17.4. Just a question for Mr. Neese. Are they planning to have the parade live and in person?
I assume they're planning to do that based on the fact that they're putting the program together, but I guess it's also going to be COVID contingent, but hopefully we will be in a position that most people will be vaccinated and we will be at what they consider herd immunity and be able to move forward.
Fantastic. Because I'd like to go this year. So. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.5, consider approving the use of a third-party staffing company to temporarily hire up to 2 assistants for the codes and administrative departments using budgeted dollars from positions that are currently not filled. Mr. Neese.
So as you're aware, we are short at least one person because we did not, or Kathy has left and gone to the county. And we also chose to hold off moving forward with the with another position in administration. And so we're finding that we're falling behind, just keeping up with the basics right now. And so this would be to bring, 2 people on, one in codes and one in administration, to help us just kind of through this time, to answer phones, help put some things together. We've got stacks of filing that need to get filed and things like that we would use these folks for, just to help us get caught up. Some of our folks that have been working on that have been pulled in other directions now that we have some openings or some things that are not being done. So, or I'm not saying that well, but people are backfilling other areas is what I'm trying to say. And we could use some clerical support. But before we went forward, I wanted to make sure that the board was okay with us doing that.
So move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lyckout to approve item 17.5. Again, Mr. Neese, just reiterating that this is a revenue neutral type of thing. It's not going to cost us anything.
That is correct.
Okay. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.6, consider giving staff permission to dispose of 2 desktop computers and 1 server. All hard drives have been removed and given to Help Now, the Township IT consultants, for destruction.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge to approve item 17.6. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Look at that, halfway done. Item 17.7, consider authorizing staff to hire 2 interns. Mr. Neese.
So we've budgeted for the 2 interns and usually we spread them out, but we are feeling like we may get some benefit to bring them in during the summer months, at least if we can get one of them. May not be able to get the second one until the spring or to the fall, I'm sorry. But we do feel like there would be benefit to bring in, we're looking at both Westchester University and Villanova, both have public administration programs. And we thought that we would benefit, particularly in some areas of communication while we're getting through and looking at evaluating the job description before we move forward for the final hire.
Any questions for Mr. Neese?
Yeah, just if you want a top tier candidate, I would suggest staying towards that Westchester side than the Villanova side. Just throwing it out
Oh
there.
my God.
So
What are you,
moved.
what are you biased?
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion is made by Supervisor Partridge, seconded by Supervisor Altieri to approve item 17.7. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.8, consider authorizing the township manager to sign all documents related to the CBIZ INR drop investment program.
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
This was made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lycett to approve item 17.8. Is there any further questions or discussions on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.9 is related. Consider approving the township manager and finance director as the two authorized individuals to act on the plan's behalf per section 3.2H of the record keeping service agreement.
So be it. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lycett to approve item 17.9. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is item 17.10. Consider adding Chairman John A. Nawn as the second signature for all grant documents related to the PennDOT Multimodal Trail Grant for the Trail Loop Bishop Hollow to Drexel Lodge Park.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Partridge to approve item 17.10. Any further questions or discussions on the motion? I thank you for the vote of confidence. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 17.11, consider reducing the trail loop multimodal portion of the project to meet the grant match requirements. Mr. Neese, I think you've already discussed this, but perhaps a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, so we received the grant for $650,000, which is terrific. We put in for $3 million for this particular project. If we were to go forward just as it's written right now, the township would be on the hook for the remaining difference between the $3 million and the $650,000. But they will allow us as part of that to rewrite the scope of the project. And so what I would like to do is rewrite the scope of the project to meet the minimum requirement between our match and their piece to do that portion of the project, however far that takes us.
So
What, do we know the minimum match?
I'm confirming that this one I believe is 10%, but I want to make sure before I do that.
That's fine.
So we'd be phasing the project. In other words, that would give us 2, 3, 4 phases of the project. In other words,
That is correct.
and if we hopefully, I guess, additional grant opportunities will come up. If we have one phase done, then we might, I guess, more favorable response if we're building an additional phase, I would guess, right?
Usually that's the case.
Fantastic. Would anybody like to offer a motion on this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion is made by Supervisor Roberts Lycett, seconded by Supervisor Altieri to approve item 17.11. Any further questions or discussions on this item? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Last item under new business, item 17.12, which is consider approving the DCED grant relative to the Greer Park Master Plan. And that is covered in resolution 2021-17. Mr. Altieri, would you like to offer us that resolution?
I would like to make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
You need to read the resolution.
Oh, I thought that, okay. There's two different items here, so.
I know, but if we approve the resolution, that takes care of item 1712.
Resolution 2021-17. Be it resolved that the Township of Newtown of Delaware County hereby requests a Greenways Trail and Recreation Program GTRP grant of $250,000 from the Commonwealth Financing Agent Authority to be used for the Greer Park Revitalization Project. Be it further resolved that the applicant does hereby designate John A. Nawn, Chairman, and Stephen M. Neese, Township Manager, as the officials to execute all documents and agreements between the Newtown Township and the Commonwealth Financing Authority to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant. I, Stephen M. Neese, duly qualified Secretary of the Newtown Township, Delaware County, Newtown Square, PA, hereby certify that the foregoing is a true and correct copy of the resolution duly adopted by a majority vote of the Board of Supervisors at a regular meeting held April 26, 2021, and said resolution has been recorded in the minutes of the Newtown Township and remains in effect as of this date. Newtown Township Board of Supervisors and remains in effect as of this date. In witness thereof, I affixed my hand and attached the seal of Newtown Township this 26th day of April 2021.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Resolution 2021-17 was, I guess the motion was made by Supervisor Altieri, seconded by Supervisor Partridge. Any further questions or discussion on the motion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Outstanding. We have nothing listed under old business. We have one additional resolution, item 19.2, which is consider approving resolution 2021-18, the Newtown Square Sustainability Resolution. Mr. Russo, would you like to offer us that resolution?
Resolution number 2021-18, Sustainability Newtown Square. Whereas Newtown Township mission statement is to be the preeminent township dedicated to public service with integrity achieved by encouraging communications and protecting resources, and sustainability focuses on protecting resources. And whereas the township recognizes to be the preeminent means the township should not only strive towards excellence and maintaining excellence, but desires to be an organization that other municipalities, organizations, and businesses will follow. And whereas Pennsylvania Municipal League offers the Sustainability Community Essential Certificate Program to Pennsylvania municipalities who demonstrate a commitment to sustainable practices in multiple areas of sustainable government. Whereas Newtown Township Environmental Advisory Commission has recommended that township be actively involved in the sustainable. And whereas the Board of Supervisors wish to rely on the Environmental Advisory Committee as a valuable resource for guidance for achieving the goals of sustainability in the area of environment, which will include interim milestones. And whereas Sustainability Community Essential Certificate Program looks at 9 key areas of sustainability of local government, including governance and community engagement, healthy communities, diversity, equity, and inclusion, education, energy use, conservation, and green buildings, environmental stewardship, housing, land development, and local economy. Now therefore be resolved, the Board of Supervisors joins the Sustainability Essential Certificate Program of the Pennsylvania Municipal League, naming the local initiative Sustainable Newtown Square, and will seek to take the steps necessary to achieve the program's certification. Furthermore, the Board of Supervisors directs the staff and the boards and the commissions of the Newtown Township to integrate Sustainable Newtown Square into the township strategic plan, directives, initiatives, and outcomes. Be it resolved this 26th day of April 2021, Board of Supervisors, Township of Newtown.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Supervisor Russo, seconded by Supervisor Roberts Lightcap to approve resolution 2021-18, the Newtown Square Sustainability Resolution. Any further questions or discussions on this motion? I'm glad that we can finally do this, and we've worked this out with our EAC. I think this is a great thing for the township moving forward. So I think this is a good thing. So hearing no further questions or discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We have no additional business listed. Would any board member like to make any comments?
I do have a few things I want to say. I want to thank Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney. I know that Steve mentioned this in his report, but just to reiterate, for organizing the Arbor Day celebration. Also want to thank Supervisors Michael Russo and Tina Roberts-Lightcap for accompanying myself to the Arbor Day celebrations. It was a great time, quite frankly. It was fun. It was a collection of different boards, from the Environmental Advisory Council to Parks and Rec, Newtown Square and Bloom, so on and so forth. And it was a really good, fun Saturday morning, quite frankly. And with that being said, there's two more big events that are happening in the township coming up. The first one is the pop-up garden that is being led by Janet Cravanis from our Environmental Advisory Council, but I believe this is actually happening with the Autobahn Society and Autobahn PA. The pop-up garden will open at 11 a.m. on Saturday, May 8th at the Township Building, and then we'll move over to St. Albans Circle on, I believe that's May 15th. The other big event we have coming up, is the chairman kind of touched on, is Historic Newtown Square Day, which is going to be Saturday, June 5th. Since we are in the process of having that historic preservation ordinance approved, I look forward to celebrating Historic Newtown Square Day with the Historical Society and with my colleagues here on the Board of Supervisors.
Well said, Mr. Altieri, well said. Any other board members wish to make any comments? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to the public comment portion of the agenda. At this point, any members of the public that would like to offer comments on any items that are not on the agenda, please raise your hand and be acknowledged. We have one hand up from Doug Everloff. Mr. Neese, does Mr. Everloff wish to speak? Or is that just left over from when he was speaking earlier?
Left over, I think.
I'm not sure.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
All right, seeing no other hands up, we are in adjournment. Appreciate everybody's participation tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Our next meeting is Monday, May 10th at 7 p.m. Have a great time, folks, and we'll see you then.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Steve, did you really want to unmute me? This is Arlene.
Oh, no, I did it by accident. Sorry.
Oh, good, because I thought I missed something. Awesome. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.